Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to have a look at another collaboration beer. So this one is half Latvian on the home side, half English on the away side, and both of the breweries involved in this one have featured on the channel before, albeit the Latvian brewery a little bit more than the English brewery in this case. Now, when it comes to the Latvian brewery, these guys are a very well established and very well respected name within the Latvian craft beer scene. In fact, they've been the ones really pushing Latvian craft beer across the European continent and further afield. And if people were to ask me about that brewery, I would say that they're probably best known for their different kinds of New England hazy, whatever you want to call them, IPAs, also for their fruity, juicy, smoothie sour beers, but they do some very nice, sweet imperial stouts too, and in recent times I've seen them diversifying and doing quite a few different styles, which has been exciting to see. Now, the English brewery are slightly newer than the Latvian brewery, but they've got a very good pedigree behind them, and I would probably say that they're best known for their different kinds of New England hazy, whatever you want to call them, IPAs, although I've seen some good imperial stouts from these guys. I've had one of those so far, I think, on the channel, and they've been diversifying a little bit and trying different styles in recent times too. But the beer that we're going to have a look at today is a style that I know the Latvian brewery can do very well. It's my first encounter with this style category from the English brewery, but I've heard good things about what they do in that style category too. It's supposed to be a very nice beer, and yeah, it's one of the Latvian brewery's latest releases here in Hong Kong too. So needless to say, I'm very, very curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this one then, like I said, the home side of this brewery comes from Latvia, so we're going to go a little bit to the northeast of Riga, the capital city, to a little place called Eimuri in the Adazi region, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Ārpus Brewing Company. So this one is simply called Guava, Banana, Mango, Mandarin, Lemon, Vanilla Smoothie Sour Ale. It comes in at 5% ABV, and I think you know from the name of this one what style of beer it is, but it also happens to be brewed in collaboration with Azvex Brewing, who come from Liverpool in England. So yeah, very first time I've seen these guys collaborating. We've had a number of smoothie sours from Ārpus Brewing Company in the past, but as I mentioned earlier, it's my first encounter with this style category from Azvex. We've reviewed 2 IPAs, I think, on the channel from them, and also an imperial stout. So a brewery that I know is very solid, but we're trying a new style from them, which should be quite interesting. But yeah, interesting combination of fruit in this one, which was what made this beer kind of catch my eye. So let's crack on with it and see what this beer is going to have in store for us. A 5% smoothie sour from Ārpus in Latvia and Azvex in England. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done, both from Ārpus and from Azvex, and we will no doubt add more to both of those lists at some point in the fairly near future, because both of these breweries do appear fairly regularly here in Hong Kong. But there's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Latvian playlist and the English playlist, since it is dual nationality. I'm adding to both of those playlists whenever I get the opportunity, but do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days, even if I do say so myself, and yeah, I'm always on the lookout for new and interesting beers. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you about the breweries first off. We'll start with Ārpus in this case, since they are the home brewery. So yeah, Ārpus Brewing Company, as I've mentioned already, are from Latvia, and the company was founded back in 2017 by 2 home brewers. So this was Yirts Tihomirovs and Vladimir Berezins. So these guys started off as a gypsy brewery, but they were based primarily in Riga And in the first year of operations, they brewed at 4 different breweries around the country, and they say that this really helped them understand about different brewing equipment, which was very handy when they went to establish their own facility. So later on in 2019, they received funding from the Latvian Investment and Development Agency and also from the EU Agricultural Fund for Rural Development, and through these two mediums, or these two bodies, they managed to secure €200,000 to invest in their own brewery, which they did in the Eimuri town of the Adagi region to the northeast of the capital Riga. So the new brewery helped them increase their output quite dramatically, and apparently they export about 90% of the beer that they produce. This isn't uncommon in the Baltic countries. You have to remember they're very small in terms of population. You know, Estonia is like 1.3 million, Latvia is about 2 million, and I think Lithuania is about 3.2 if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, in Europe you can get some very, very good quality beer from the Baltic countries at a very good price. They only need a small amount of it to basically fill the demand on the home front, and the rest of it gets exported across the continent, and Ārpus are no exception to that. Pohjola and Puasta from Estonia do a lot of that too. But yeah, at the brewery they're operating a 2,000 litre brew kit. They've got several 2,000 and 4,000 litre fermentation vessels, and they've basically been gradually expanding this fermentation capacity over the last few years. Ārpus is a word from Latvian that means like outside of the box when you translate it into English, and that's why their symbol they use, or motif, or whatever you want to call it, is basically the Ārpus name but inside the box. So I'm not sure if that's intentional irony or whatever, but yeah, Ārpus means to kind of think outside of the box. But as of June 2025, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced just over 140 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. And like I said to you, these guys are probably best known in Europe for their different kinds of New England hazy, whatever you want to call them, IPAs, but they do some very good fruity smoothie sours in my experience, and also some big imperial stouts too. But recently we tried a black IPA from them, which was in collaboration with Popin from France. That was really good, and I've seen a few different styles from these guys on the social media and things. So yeah, hopefully we can try a few more different things from Azvex going forward. But they've built a very good name for Latvian craft beer, and there are a few other breweries from Latvia starting to get out there now. So yeah, somewhere that I do hope I can visit, and it would be cool to go and check out the Ārpus brewery should that chance arise. So we'll need to see what we can arrange in that regard. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Ārpus Brewing Company for the moment. If you want to learn more, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Untappd page as well to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on to the English side of things then, and Azvex Brewing. So Azvex Brewing, as I told you earlier, are based in Liverpool in England, and the company was founded back in 2020 by Adam Henderson. So Adam has a background as an engineer, and he worked for Rolls-Royce for a number of years, but during this time he was also dabbling with home brewing, and he ended up getting very deep into this hobby. But after taking part in and winning one of Brewdog's local home brewing competitions, he went on to co-found Neon Raptor Brewing, who started off as a gypsy brewery, but then they settled in Nottingham in 2018. So he remained with Neon Raptor until 2020 during the COVID pandemic, and he said that all the restrictions and things like that there made him realise that he wanted to go in another direction in comparison to his business partners, and so he decided to sell his share in Neon Raptor and found his own new brand. So he chose Liverpool as his location, and he found a premises at King Edward Triangle, and he completely renovated the unit and installed a 4-vessel brewhouse which he got from Bespoke Brewing Systems. They went on to release their first beers in 2021, and then they opened a tap room on site in April of 2022. But over the last few years they've been continuing to expand the brewery capacity. They've been focusing on getting their beers further afield, and they've built a very, very good name for themselves, particularly when it comes to New England hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA category. But yeah, as of June 2025, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 255 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and that number will no doubt continue to increase as time goes on. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Azvex Brewing Company for the moment. If you want to learn a little bit more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. Again, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Untappd page too to learn a little bit more about all of the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, now we can breathe. That's the history section of the video done. So let's go on and have a little look at this beer itself. So as you can see, this one is a 440 milliliter can, kind of standard measurement there. If I bring the can up to the camera there, you can see the Ārpus Brewing Company symbol on the top there, and the Ārpus one just underneath. I'm not sure if that's an orchid flower that they've used for the artwork of this one. You know, I'm not so much into my botany, I have to say, but yeah, you can see the beer name down there. Ārpus, of course, like to name their beers very, very simply, but it works for them. Plain silver top on the can there. It tells you a little bit about the beer on the side here, so let's just take a little look at that. So it says Ārpus Brewing Company crossed with Azvex Brewing Company, Guava, banana, mango, mandarin, lemon, vanilla smoothie sour ale. In this vibrant collaboration, Ārpus Brewing Company from Latvia teams up with Liverpool's boundary-pushing Azvex Brewing Company to deliver a smoothie sour ale that's bursting with bold fruit character and silky decadence. This beer is a tropical citrus stream loaded with juicy guava, creamy banana, ripe mango, zesty mandarin, and a bright twist of lemon oil, smoothed out with a touch of rich vanilla. Pouring thick and hazy with a glowing golden orange hue, the aroma is an intoxicating blend of tropical smoothie, citrus sorbet, and vanilla bean. On the palate, each fruit shines through in harmony. Banana and mango bring the body and sweetness. Lemon and mandarin cut through with a refreshing tang, while guava and vanilla round it all off with a luscious finish. So yeah, sounds pretty nice actually. But yeah, we'll just invert the can a few times, because with these smoothie sours, you do have to be aware that they can sediment a little bit, and you'll get all the good gloopy stuff at the bottom, so you want to sort that out. You also want to roll the can a few times, which we'll just do here for the moment as well. But yeah, like I mentioned to you earlier, this one is a 5% smoothie sour, so it's actually kind of light in terms of its ABV when you consider the style category. Quite a few of the ones that I was drinking in Sweden, which is where I really got acquainted with this beer style, were about 6% or 6.5% or so. But yeah, sounds pretty interesting, this one. Let's get it out into the glass then and see what it's all about. I'm very curious to try this. We had another smoothie sour from Azvex, sorry, not from Azvex, from Ārpus a few videos ago, and it was really damn good. So let's try this one then, see what it's all about. Look at the pour on that. That is thick as fuck, to be quite blunt. I have to say that's one of the thickest smoothie sours that I've come across. Yeah, I'm just going to pour the full thing. I don't want to risk any sediment or anything, but I mean, look at that. That's crazy. Yeah. That is impressive. Just look at the carbonation at the top of that there. That's kind of perfect pour almost. I'm always a little bit scared that it'll overflow, but just look at the carbonation bubbles in that. Absolutely crazy. So yeah, I don't even know where to say the head on this beer is. I think it's got to be at least a finger, but you can see that it's not head in the conventional sense. But yeah, it looks absolutely great. Lovely kind of at least finger of a very yellow tinted soapy kind of head there. Beautiful looking beer. I'm going to say straight away, this is the thickest smoothie sour that I've seen from Ārpus so far. This has got to be quadruple fruited or something like this, but yeah, it looks absolutely great. That is just fading away to be a kind of thinner layer now at the top of the glass. But yeah, looks great. In terms of colour, it actually looks a little bit like a kind of korma sauce or something like that. I think on the camera it's appearing a little bit brighter to you guys than it actually does to the naked eye. But yeah, to me it's actually the same colour as like a kind of korma curry sauce or something like that. But yeah, it looks absolutely great. You can see little touches of fruit. Well, there's a lot of kind of fruit particle kind of suspended in this one. But yeah, colour of this beer is very much very much like a kind of curry sort of yellow colour. I think that's a good way to describe it. The carbonation seems to have faded away for the most part. There's just a few bubbles around the surface of the liquid there, but yeah, it looks absolutely great, this one. So yeah, remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. Any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect the colour as well. But yeah, when it comes to smoothie sours, I would say that it's usually the fruity adjuncts that determine the colour of these beers, and that's quite obviously the case in this one. I mean, the guava, the banana, the mango, the mandarin, the lemon, they're pretty much going to give you this very kind of bright yellow colour. I think the banana would kind of dim the colour a little bit, make it a little bit more matted almost, but all of the fruits in this one are going to give you that nice bright yellow colour. If you put a bit of raspberry or something in there, it would darken it up quite significantly. But you can see lovely soupy gloopiness to this beer, which will be both from the fruit and from the oat and wheat that are in here. But yeah, in honesty, there's nothing really surprising about this beer when you consider what style it is and what fruits have been used in here. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that for the appearance. Let's go on and have a little look at the aroma of this one. And as I've mentioned in many smoothie sour reviews before, these beers are quite simple in terms of their aroma profiles and flavour profiles, but if they're done well, they're beautiful, beautiful beers to drink. So let's go through the aroma of this one then and see what it's all about. Oh yeah, I'm going to say straight away, this one is really very, very nice. It comes across just like one of these kind of lassies that you get at an Indian restaurant or something like that. The banana jumps out at me quite quite readily, to be honest with you, and maybe that's just because banana, I will be honest and say, it's not one of my favourite fruits, but I have had a few banana or a few smoothie sours containing banana, and they've always been pretty nice. One Drop Brewing Company down in Australia in particular are one that do these things very well. It'd be cool to see Ārpus do a collaboration with them actually, and if Azvex are as good as Ārpus at this style, they could do it as well. But yeah, the aroma profile with this one is really, really nice. It gives you everything you'd expect: the big fruitiness, the nice kind of almost yogurty type backbone, and just a little bit of that green placebo effect in there. So let's just break down the aroma of this one and describe it for you more in depth. So the backbone of the beer, you've got a little bit of that kind of fresh white bready bread crust in this one, just a little bit of it. There's a wee touch of woodiness in there, a little bit of cracker, and you've got a little bit of the fresh white bready character in there, which is going to come from the barley malt, and also to a degree you're going to get that from the wheat as well. There's maybe just a little touch of wheaty bitiness coming out of this one too. But yeah, on top of that, you've very much got that kind of like vanilla yogurty character coming out of this one, and that is of course the combination of the wheat and the oats in this beer. So yeah, if you think about Muller Corner yogurts, that's really what makes up a lot of the kind of malty backbone in this one. There's a good little bit of vanilla coming out of the beer as well, and that kind of makes sense when you think about what ingredients are in here. But yeah, I do also smell little hints of like Werther's Original, butter candy, butterscotch, and there's a wee bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuit coming out of this beer too. So yeah, the way that this one goes together, I think, is really nice from the malty side of things. I don't know if there's too much else to say about it in that regard. I think we're going to get more out of the flavour in honesty. But yeah, at the back of the nose you start to get the kind of yeasty side of the beer coming out, and for me the yeasty side of this one is quite kind of white bready. Like you've maybe got a little bit of a sweet brown bread with it, but mostly a kind of slightly drier white bread and a wee bit of fresh white bready bread crust in there. So yeah, the way that the malty and yeasty side of this beer go together are very nice, I have to say. I do like that. Yeah, don't know if there's much else to say about that, to be honest. It's the fruit. The focus on this beer should always be on the fruit. But yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of this beer, then I'm pretty sure, going by the aroma, that there are not hops in this beer. And it's always interesting to talk to sour beer brewers about their hopping mentality. If you go to the kind of classic Lambic and Flanders Red, and the Goses and Berliner Weisses in Germany as well, if you go back to these classic beer styles, and what a lot of brewers will tell you is that they'll use older hops that have lost a little bit of their alpha acid potency, because they don't want the bitterness of the hops to take away from the sourness of the beer. But yeah, these days with modern sour brewers that are doing things like this, some brewers will add hops into the beer because they see it gives you a little bit more depth of flavour, such as, for example, Holy Goat or Vault City back in my motherland of Scotland. Whereas if you go to some other sour beer breweries, they'll argue that, yeah, putting fruity adjuncts into the beer is going to suppress the green component anyway, so why bother adding hops into the beer in the first place? Both are valid arguments, you just need to think about what you want. That's certainly what the Swedish brewers like Elmelivin, Duck Pond, and these guys always used to do, Fermenterarna as well. So yeah, Ārpus, I think they tend not to use hops in their smoothie sour beers, but you still get a little bit of that kind of green component placebo effect coming out of them. So yeah, with this one, I do get a little bit of like grassiness to it, and maybe a very slightly floral note. But yeah, the mango, I think it's the mango and the guava in this one that are really giving it the kind of green component, if you like. I think guava for me is always like a very ripe and slightly green mango, in honesty. I think that's what's kind of given this sort of slightly woody, floral, grassy kind of placebo, to be honest. So yeah, you've got a little bit of that in there, but of course the focus is on the fruit. So yeah, the banana for me is the one that's kind of underpinning everything, if you like, and the guava, as I say, gives you a little bit of that green quality. The mango's giving you a lot of the juiciness, and yeah, like they were suggesting on the can, I think that the orangey, the Mandarin's giving you that more oily character, and also along with the lemon, it's giving you the big kind of zesty kind of sharpness to the beer, although it's not going to blow the head off you in terms of its zesty sharpness. But yeah, it's really interesting beer, this one. The more that I've kind of been smelling it, the more that the kind of banana has kind of just gone into the backbone. So yeah, the way that all of that pieces together in this beer, I think is really very nice. So yeah, take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of your beers before you get stuck into them. But I think it is about time to taste this one then and see what it's all about. So yeah, this is the Guava, Banana, Mango, Mandarin, Lemon, Vanilla Smoothie Sour Ale, 5% ABV from Ārpus Brewing Company in Eimuri, Adazi, Latvia, in collaboration with Azvex Brewing Company from Liverpool in England. Let's have a taste of this one then and see what it's all about. Slanja, skål, cheers, and as they say in Latvian, Isvetaka. There we go. Yeah, once again, that's a really lovely beer. I think this is the sort of beer that if you gave it to somebody who, said, oh, I'm not into beer, you'd get away with it, because this thing, it really is just like mango lassi or something like this. It's a really nice beer, this one. But yeah, it is literally just like a mix of fruit juice, like a fruit smoothie or something like this. Or like drinking yogurt, I think was the way I described the last one that I had from Ārpus. This beer is absolutely like that too. Compared to that last one, I actually find this one a little bit smoother and more creamy, in all honesty. But yeah, it's really enjoyable. Like, it's a massive thumbs up from me. So yeah, I really like this one. Yeah, awesome stuff. yeah, big thumbs up to Ārpus and Azvex for this one. Kind of reminds me in a way of the first beer that I had from One Drop Brewing in Australia when they first sent their beers up here to Hong Kong. Yeah, I think we've got another two very good smoothie sour breweries in Europe. But yeah, this beer's giving you everything you want. You've got that lovely yogurty backbone, wee touch of sweetness on top, and then just a really nice mix of fruity character in this one. It's interesting as well that the banana was so prominent in the aroma, because it really takes a bit of a back seat in this beer until the aftertaste. So yeah, let's just break this one down then and see what it's all, and just go through the flavour a little bit more in depth. So we'll start on the middle third of the palate then, as we always do. So the backbone of the beer, you've got that lovely little bit of like fresh white bready bread crust in there. As you move further forward on that middle third of your palate, you've got a wee bit of a kind of woody character, then you've got a kind of Jacob's cream crackery note on top of that. These slightly drier notes actually come out of the beer more into the aftertaste, I would say. But yeah, above that, you've got a slight layer of like a kind of fresh barley malt white bread coming out of the beer, and again that comes out the dryness from the beer, that very slight dryness, I hasten to add, just comes out of the beer the further into the aftertaste that you go. But yeah, for me, on top of that, you've got this nice yogurty layer coming out of this one. And as I've said with the smoothie sours many a time before, the sort of yogurty character that you get out of these beers reminds me of, it really reminds me of the yogurts that my mum used to put into my lunchbox as a wee boy, the Munch Bunch yogurts. But yeah, probably to put it in a more widely known context, you would talk about Muller Corner, the fruity Muller Corner yogurts. So the layer above that, you can feel the kind of mix of wheat and oat in there that gives you this kind of yogurty character, and further forward on that middle third of your palate, you get the kind of vanilla flavour coming out. Actually, there's almost a wee bit of a kind of vanilla sponge cakey type flavour to this one at the front of that middle third of your palate. So you've got that nice thick layer in there, and then on top of the next one, you've got a little bit of yeah, you've just got that little bit of kind of Werther's original butter candy butterscotch coming out of the beer. So yeah, so yeah, little circle in the middle of your palate there, wee slight touch of like Werther's original butter candy butterscotch that lingers into the aftertaste. But yeah, you can feel the kind of fruity character just pushing up around the side of that there. But yeah, I think that covers everything we need to say about the middle third of your palate in this beer. Again, quite straightforward, but just really, really nicely done. So let's go to the back third of your palate then. Remember that generally speaking, sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back, and you'll also get very similar flavours on your palate between the middle third and the back third of your palate. So yeah, border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get that little bit of bready build up in there, and yeah, there's a wee touch of, yeah, it's mostly like a kind of, yeah, it's more like a kind of vanilla sponge cake in the bottom, then a kind of fluffier white bread above that. But yeah, the base of that back third of your palate, you can feel the bread crusty characters just a little bit drier. You've got the crackery layer above that, and then yeah, you've got this kind of, you've got this almost like vanilla sponge cakey type note in the base of the back third of your palate. Then above that, you've got the fluffy white bready character coming out of the beer from the barley malt, and on top of that, you can feel the kind of smoother side of the wheat and the creaminess of the oats just creeping on top there. I wouldn't quite describe the flavour as yogurty on the back third of your palate, but yeah, you can feel the drier sides of the oat and wheat just creeping over the top there. And above everything else, you've got the yeasty side of the beer as well. So yeah, let's focus on that actually. So yeah, the yeasty side of the beer for me, it's kind of like a sweet, yeah, it's almost like a kind of sweeter white bready character that comes out at the core. It's almost, yeah, so like a sweet dense white bready character at the core, then it's surrounded by a slightly drier white bread. It's almost like a banana bread in a sense, and then yeah, around the edge there's a very slight crackery, white bready, bread crusty sort of thing. So yeah, that yeasty character there, that kind of lingers into the aftertaste, and along with the base part of the malt, that comes out a wee bit more the longer you let the flavour sit. But definitely, yeah, back third of the palate you can feel the flavour is a little bit taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses, it kind of compresses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, I like that about this one, that's for sure. On the hoppy side of things then, for me, as I say, there's from the flavour of this one you can tell there's no hops in the beer, and the fruit is kind of suppressing that in this case, as we discussed earlier. But yeah, there is a teeny little hint of earthiness in the back corners of the palate. Then as you move further forward, a little bit woody, teeny bit of like almost floral note and some grassiness around the front curve of the tongue. You do still have a little touch of that placebo effect coming out of this beer, but it works really, really nicely. In terms of the fruity side of things around the edge of the beer, I think it's mostly the mango that's kind of spreading around the side of the tongue there. So I think the juiciness of the mango is the thing that's kind of suppressing all of these notes. But yeah, let's go on to the front third of your palate then, and the fruity side of things. So yeah, front third of your palate, then the border region between middle and front third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of bready build-up in there. The brown bread in the base. Well, there's a little bit of a brown bready character in the base, I think. Then yeah, you've got the kind of vanilla spongy note and the more kind of barley malt white bread on top. Yeah, the base of that front third of your palate. Lovely smooth kind of crackery note out of it. The white bready bread crust, the cracker. And then yeah, the white bread and the smoother side of the wheat and the oats there. Like, you get a really nice creaminess and a wee bit of vanilla actually coming out of that too. And then on top of everything else, you've got the fruity characters coming out. So let's look at the fruity side of things then and describe that for you. So yeah, the base of that fruity character then, it's the banana absolutely forming the base, and then on top of that I think you've got the kind of juicier mango which lingers there, and then on the back half of that front third of your palate, it's the guava, it's the kind of greenness, if that makes sense, the kind of green character of the guava and that little bit of almost sharpness that it gives you. But yeah, on the front half of the front third of your palate, it's the lemon is there and the sort of oiliness of the tangerine, and those do linger into the aftertaste a bit more. I think round the kind of front curve of your tongue too, the lemony character starts to come out, but as I say, you've got more of the you've got more of the mango around the edges of your palate there too. But yeah, all in all, the way that the fruity side of things goes together in this beer, I think is very, very nice. So yeah, I really like how this beer goes together actually. It's really nicely done, a very, very nice smoothie sour, so big thumbs up to both breweries here. It's one of the thickest ones I've had in recent times actually, and it does remind me of that Elm11 one drop one that I reviewed a couple of videos back. So it would be cool to see a four-way collaboration between these breweries. If Azvex can do these smoothie sours this well, then yeah, I think a four-way collaboration with One Drop and Elm11 could be, they could be onto a winner with that. But yeah, I think we can leave it at that for the flavour section of this video. Let's just round off with a wee quick look at the mouthfeel. So yeah. The impact flavour in this one, the citrusy notes that come out from the lemon and the mandarin, and also the greenness of the guava. So good. But yeah, mouthfeel of this beer then, I would say that this one is kind of bottom end of full bodied. The carbonation is very, very smooth in this one, almost non-existent. It really is just like drinking that kind of drinking yogurt sort of stuff that you get. There'll be, I think technically speaking there's 0 IBUs to this beer, but you'll have maybe 4 or 5 or something daft like that on the edges of your palate there. As we said, the malt base gives you a wee touch of dryness there, but you've got that big smooth yogurty note and a little touch of sweetness on top of it too. And then yeah, the fruity character of this one, you've got a lovely kind of juicy tropical note to it, some smoothness from the banana underneath, then just that little bit of zest from the mandarin and the lemon in here. Overall, another lovely smoothie sour, which I've come to expect from Ārpus, and this has certainly been an interesting first encounter with Azvex and the smoothie sour. So I need to see about getting one of their own ones going forward. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this review then. So yeah, this one was the Guava, Banana, Mango, Mandarin, Lemon and Vanilla Smoothie Sour Ale, 5% ABV, brewed at Ārpus Brewing Company in Eimuri, Adasi in Latvia, in collaboration with Azvex Brewing Company from Liverpool in England. Lovely beer, this one. And yeah, I'm sure we'll review more from both breweries going forward. But once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are, both from Ārpus and Azvex, and we will return to these guys at some point fairly soon. But till the next time, Slàinte, Skål, cheers, check out my social media, check out the brewery's social media, and I'll see you guys in another review very soon. Ciao just now.